Hello, folks. This is Joe from My Geek Scene. I'm here with my friend Tim, the Echoside Fiend, and we're doing the Astronomicon 6 review. Now, this review is going to be a little bit different because I was not able to attend Astronomicon 6 this year because the day before I was supposed to head out, uh, our furnace went out. So I figured it would not be a good idea to leave my girlfriend in a house that was like roughly 58 degrees just to go to Astronomicon 6. And
Probably wouldn't have been the best decision.
no, that would have not went over well. Like,
See ya.
see, hey,
Going to Detroit.
I'm warming my car because it has like I'm warming my friend's car because it
Yep.
has what is it, heat? Because we don't have that
Yes.
in our
That's
house.
what we call it.
Yeah, we call it heat. I call it rubbing sticks together if I'm lucky. But nonetheless, I wasn't able to attend, and I sent my friend Tim in my stead. Because Tim, for the last few years, well, he's gone to all the Astronomicons,
I've been
but
to
he's
all of
always,
them now. Yep.
for pretty much 4 out of the 6, though, he's always been my assistant. So I didn't mind sending him there because I know he would do a good job covering it like he always does, and he knows more about
Yep.
that stuff than I do. So with that being said, Tim, how was your time at Astronomicon?
Well, it was great. I mean, you've been to four of them, and I think you always had a good time. This was no different. It was put together very well, very professional, and yeah, I had a blast like I always do. So definitely will be going to the next one as well, and all of them that they do. So
Well, let's put it this way: since we went there and it was at the Burton Manor for the first time last year, when
mm-hmm.
you were just doing a quick walk around, did the layout seem like it was the same, or did it was there any drastic changes?
nothing that I noticed was changed. It was pretty much exactly set up the same this year. How they had the celebrity guests. Remember how they had them along the wall and then
Yes.
kind of along like the side wall and then the back wall, I guess you'd say. It was set up just like that. The only difference that I saw with the celebrity guests is Sabu and Sandman were actually so you had the side wall and then actually Doug Bradley Pinhead was like right here by a door, and then Sabu and Sandman were at the same table, and they were just right across from him. I'm guessing they just kind of had ran out of room, and so they were just kind of on the end of an aisle, but still right in the same line. Though you wouldn't miss them if you were walking past.
All right. Did you find that everything was like easy to find?
Yeah, yep. Everything was still laid out just pretty much the same way as they did last year. Again, the celebrities along the wall, all the art, novelties, collectibles, all that stuff was all kind of in the middle with aisleways directing through them, and everything was pretty much categorized. I guess you'd see a lot of the comics and art in one spot, action figures, video games, all that kind of stuff. Usually pretty close to each other. There was where the photo op tent was. There was a few other tables back there that did have some other merch too. So those were kind of a little bit separated, but for the most part, it was you just kind of walked around a corner and everything was right there. So
And it was all in that one big central room again.
yep, in that same room. Yep.
And honestly, like from what I remember last year, it's not like that venue had like rooms off to the side for the most part. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have your panel room, but I'm talking about like
Yeah.
it wasn't like, oh, I have to go down this long hallway and then here's a whole nother section of the Burton Manor and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Everything was yeah centralized in that one room, and then yeah, like I said, there was the panel room around there. And then there was like another hallway where I saw a lot of people coming and going that was in the dealer's room, but I didn't head down there. I think it was just bathrooms down there. So, but yeah, there was no video game room again this year, not that I saw anyway. So,
I don't even think there was like any room for that to begin with.
yeah, even last year I think we decided on that. There probably wasn't really even any room to spare for it.
So, who were some? Astronomicon is obviously known for. It's one of the definitely most impressive things to take away from Astronomicon is like their guest lineup. So, we're like, who were some of the guests? Not necessarily that you met, but who were some of the guests that you saw at the event?
Oh man, well, right off the bat I met Doug Bradley and Sabu, but then besides that, yeah, I mean there was Sandman, Trish Stratus, Devon Dudley. God, man, who else was there? There was a whole bunch of uh, what do I say? The View Askew group was there. Unfortunately, as I'll talk about when we get to the cons, some of them did have to cancel, but they had a lot of them lined up. John Lovitz was there. Oh man, there was more than I can even recall. The woman that played the nun in those movies, The Conjuring and all that. She was there. And actually, I do have right here. It's got the program. So yeah, there was. I could have just reached right behind me. Rikishi. Yep, I saw him. Obviously, Blothar from Guar. I saw him walking around. Rhino. I forgot about him. There's a few people I'm not real familiar with, but yeah, there was a lot of. They had a lot of guests to pick from. Joey Lauren Adams from the View Askew crowd. Um, so she was there. She did make it. Trish Stratus got there kind of late. Actually, so did John Lovitz. They got there like late Saturday due to weather, flights being canceled. But they did both make it.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. But you said you met a few guests?
Yes, I did meet Sabu and Doug Bradley. Sabu I've met before, but I did want to get his autobiography signed. So I did meet him, got a picture with him, and I had him sign the inside. Yeah.
Nice.
And I also met the main one that I was actually going to meet Tony Todd, who played the Candyman and all that, but for whatever reason he canceled very quickly after they started planning everything. But then once he canceled and then they announced Doug Bradley, I had to meet him. And I don't know if that'll show up real well, but he wrote, "To Timmy, see you in hell, Doug Bradley." So Hellraiser is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I saw it for the first time when I was like 13, and getting to meet him was really cool. So he was very soft-spoken, very stark contrast to the Pinhead character, to see how nice and just quiet he was, and very nice guy.
Oh, it's called acting.
Yeah, that's what I hear. So, yeah, but yeah, and then yep, I was kind of sort of thinking about meeting James O'Barr. He was there. That's another one I should have mentioned. But after meeting both of them, I decided not to.
I'm pretty sure James would have talked to you. I've met him like a handful of times.
Yeah,
Interviewed
I
him
know
once.
you interviewed him. Yeah, I remember that.
Very first interview, actually. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know
um,
it was early on. Yeah.
and obviously, Astronomicon's known for, outside of its horror and pop culture and wrestling guests, it's known for its Magic Ninja Entertainment
Yep.
guest.
Yep. Who are obviously instrumental in putting it on. I did meet Blaze, Twisted, Zool, which is Ala Zulilu, and then Boondocks and Buckshot. Buckshot is part of mob style music, but he's very closely tied to MNE, and him and Boondocks are in a group right now, a duo, just the two of them called the Horde. So they were both up at the table at the same time. So got autographs, brought some things with me, got autographed, got pictures, and so always pleasure meeting all of them. Of course, you've interviewed Twisted, you know how nice they are.
Yeah.
And then Blaze, who I've talked about before, just beyond cool. That dude is just the nicest guy ever. I was actually walking through the con and saw him, and I was just like, "Hey, what's up, Blaze?" And I went to fist bump him, and he went to high five. So he went like, so then he switched to a fist bump, and I went like, and he goes, "No, we got to do this." He's like, "I'm not leaving until we do this right." And then we fist bumped, and he's like, "All right, brother," and then kept going. It was so cool. He's such a nice guy. He's so funny, and I've talked about how nice he is before, and it just makes me respect him even more. Just being a fan of his music, just to know how nice he is, and of course, Twisted are super cool as well, and they're all cool. But just to know that both Twisted and Blaze, two of my favorite artists, to know that they're so nice. On top of that, I'm such a big fan. So cool.
Yeah, shout out to both of them, and shout out to especially to Jamie Madrox, who gave me an interview last year
That
online.
was a great interview too.
Oh, thank you. No, getting the case of the vapors. No, Jamie was super cool, and I wish I was going to be able to attend in person to tell him like just thank you in person. But I'll save that for like the next time I go there.
Yeah, there's always next year. Yeah.
So, while you were there, did you buy any cool merch?
I did pick up a couple shirts that are not necessarily Astronomicon. Just one is a Zool shirt, and one is just a Magic Ninja. But I also did pick up these. These are fairly new, and they're official Funko Pops, of course, Twisted. My buddy who I was waiting in line to meet Twisted with has talked about that Madrox is a huge collector of these, and he's actually been their celebrity feature on their website, like featured collector and everything. And these also, I bought these at the convention, as I just said, but I bought them from a vendor that is the official, I guess the one who's selling them for them, called Heroes Hideout. And so it came in, this is an actual, like a plastic protector case, and then I don't know how well that's going to show up, but it is
I do see it.
with Twisted, yep. And then the Heroes Hideout, and it comes comes right out of there. So, and they were $30 each or two for 50, but I just bought one. So, but yeah, definitely keeping these on display. Not going to be opening them. So,
Well, cool, man. That's
yep.
cool. And
Actually, probably going to bring those next year and get them signed. So,
oh, nice. And he's gonna be like, "That's gonna be $100, kid."
we're not signing those for free.
So, one of the other things that Astronomicon has been known for is like pretty much like an after party concert. So,
Yeah.
how was the concert this year?
Concert was great as usual. The last couple of years, they're pretty much like a full roster for the most part, but full concert. Like what was it? The second year when they did that Monsters Ball was kind of a condensed show, and just kind of a bonus with it. These last few years, they've been doing straight up like full on concerts. So you literally are able to just go to the convention if you want, and then at the Burton Manor, they haven't made it so you have to go to the convention. You can buy a ticket and just go to the concert, and it's a full on concert, like just like you're going to the Orbit Room or 20 Monroe Live or whatever, like it's a full concert. So it was a great show, and one thing that I brought up last year in my cons, they actually fixed this year. I said that there was a second bar in the venue, and you couldn't even see it. I was like saying how they should have put up some of the ropes or whatever, and they did that this year. So both the bars were open, so going and get a bottle of water or whatever was way quicker. Because last year I literally bought one bottle of water and then just kept filling it in the bathroom because you couldn't even you'd end up waiting in line for like 20 minutes just to get a bottle of water. This year they had the two bars open, and so it was great. You could just run up, grab it. They were selling the cans of liquid death, but you could just run up and grab a can of water, and you're good to go. So
Okay. Well, you did mention that. Well, before we segue into the cons portion
yeah.
of this, were there any more pros that you wanted to mention about Astronomicon this year?
A few things written down. Just like before, since the first one, they had the custom Astronomicon banners. That always stands out to me. Those really look professional. I think that not that their convention isn't professional, but it gives it a very professional look with the custom banners. Volunteers employees, whatever you want to call them, were super friendly and helpful, just like every year.
Yeah, for sure.
And of course I think it's really cool how they do the M&E autographs, meet and greets with the artists are free. I think that's really cool that they do that. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Just the venue there is great. I think this is of all the venues they've been in so far, I think it's probably the best one. So, and they do really well with what they got, and they do a very professional job setting it up.
Okay. So now we're going to segue into the cons portion of this review.
Yep.
So take it away, Tim.
Yep. So the first and foremost, I've got to get this out of the way right off the bat. Anybody who went is going to know how awful this was the parking this year. Even last year, we pulled right in. We were a little ways back, but we pulled right in, found a spot, no problem. This year, I circled that parking lot at least 3 or 4 times. Never found a spot. And even the people who were finding spots, it was like when you got farther back, it was paved around the venue, but the farther back you got, it was just dirt. So of course it snowed quite hard the night before, and then now this day was about 45, 50 degrees, so everything was melting, and it was just a mud pit back there. Giant puddles, and then there's semi-truck trailers everywhere. I'm not sure what those are. I'm guessing maybe Burton Manor shares the parking lot with some type of trucking company or something, but there's semi-truck trailers just everywhere, and that's taking up at least a quarter of what could have been parking. And people were just pulling in and blocking other cars in and stuff. And then inside the convention, they about every 15 or 20 minutes, this guy was getting on an intercom and naming off the make and model and color of a car with the license plate, saying you had about 10 minutes to get there and move your car, you were getting towed. I don't know if anyone got towed, but they were threatening it. I mean, they were being very professional about it, but they were just like, you got to get out there and move. So finally, I just gave up circling around, and I found parking lot right next door for some type of logistics company or something. There was nobody there. Clearly, they weren't open. So I just parked there, and then I went in and I was in the convention, and then they announced over the intercom that they just said if you're not in the Burton Manor parking lot, they're like, if you're in any parking lot to the left or right, that there were tow trucks out and about that were going to tow your car. So I just grabbed a few, finished up. I was getting an autograph or something. Went out. My car was not messed with or anything. I didn't even see any tow trucks. But I just moved and I went and parked in the neighborhood that was across the street. And I just kind of found a spot in front of a house that was on a corner, so they had a lot of, so I wasn't right in front of their driveway or anything like that. And I parked there, made sure there was no signs that said no parking, and I didn't have any issue. But I'm gonna say that next year they either need to see if they can get those semi truck trailers out of there, or contact the businesses side to side and see if maybe, hey, we'll send a employee over there to take some money for people to come in and park, and then we'll give you the money or something. They got to come up with something, because that was an absolute disaster. That was the worst I've ever seen, and I know it was out of their hands, but just yeah, they definitely need to do something about that.
So besides parking,
Yep.
and what other cons do you have?
Just a few. None of these are really. They're just they're fairly minor. There was some confusion with lines waiting for celebrity guests. Like, for example, when I met Doug Bradley, I walked up to his table. He was right on the corner, and there was a few people waiting along there. And I walked in, I looked out the hall, into the hall, and I was like, okay, yeah, there's no line. So I went and just kind of stood behind the last guy. And a few seconds later, one of the volunteers came up and was like, oh, his line's out here, and it wasn't very long. I only waited like maybe 15 minutes, but it was the line was along the wall in the hallway, probably a good 20 to 30 feet to the door where he was. So you had no way of knowing. You know what I mean? Like, and the guy was super cool. I'm not saying he was mean about it or anything like that, but how are you supposed to know that? So and the people that were in line were just kind of mingling about it. Just kind of looked like people just standing in the hallway. So, but yeah, it was only about a 15-minute wait, and that's fine. I'm more than happy to do that. I just was like, yeah, they really need to have some guide ropes or something. I don't know. Um, but yeah, and then the same as last year, the MNE autograph tent. If you were waiting in line, you were blocking several vendors. There was some comic vendors. There was a music store. There, when I say music, like instruments. They had a tent set up with guitars and stuff, and people were coming up and checking things out and kind of playing the guitars. And if there was somebody at the M&E booth, they were completely blocked off. So I know they probably don't have a whole lot more they can do with that, but I did see that as anybody with a booth there is probably took a hit on people walking up. So as I stated too, the Kevin Smith crew, quite a few of them had to cancel. Kevin Smith himself, um, Jason Lee, but there was a few of them that had to cancel, and it was due to the weather. Their flights got canceled. And Kevin Smith, though, did make a video announcement saying that he's working with George Vlahakis, I think is how you say it, Twisted's manager, about setting up a VIP event for people who bought the VIP tickets to see him, and doing it like sometime, and he goes, if you can make it there to Detroit or wherever they decide to do it, and then if they can't, then the way, from what I understand, that M&E or whoever, George, would refund the ticket price for people if they couldn't make it. But that's still cool that they're doing something to make up for it. But it's a bummer that they couldn't make it. The concert, there was some sound issues right at the beginning.
Actually,
Performed.
before you go, I apologize for interrupting you. If you're going into the concert, so obviously Kevin Smith had to cancel the day of. Was Astronomicon at least announcing that over the intercoms, like, "Hey, Kevin Smith is not here,"
Yeah.
because I wasn't there, so it's not like how did attendees find out that he canceled? Because not everyone's online, 24/7 and stuff like that. So was Astronomicon letting people know that of guest cancellations, like in person?
I did hear a couple over the intercom about Kevin Smith, and it was pretty much just him and his crew, as far as I'm aware. I did hear a couple announcements over the intercom, and then as far as when I heard people talking about it, I was standing with my friend that knows George well, and he was kind of telling a few people in line while we were waiting to be twisted. So, so he knew about it and was kind of spreading it around. Other than the announcements, I didn't see any like poster, like not a poster, but like sign or anything announcing it. But they might have had something, and I just wasn't really looking for it because I wasn't planning on doing the VIP with him or anything.
Okay, so back to the concert.
Yep. So the concert, yeah, just the opening act. I forget what his name was. I do know it because I've seen him before, but I can't think of what it is right off the top of my head. But he had a lot of sound issues. It wasn't his fault, but So he had to step off the stage for a little bit while they got everything going, and then he came out and finished his set, and then Buckshot played, and there was still some issues with the microphone, but they got it under control probably about halfway through his set. By the time Zool went on, everything was fine, sound wise. And then my last complaint, also the concert, way too much smoking being allowed inside that venue. It's not a very big room, and everybody was I shouldn't say everybody, but a large portion of the audience was smoking cigarettes and weed, and myself being a non-smoker. By the time Blaze went on stage, it was just a cloud of smoke, and it was just killing my lungs. And I do get Twisted and Blaze. People wanna smoke while they watch them. I get it. I totally understand it, but I really think people need to take into consideration people that don't smoke. I don't know if people will do that, but I wish they would. And by the time I drove home, because I just went home the same night, my eyes were absolutely on fire on the way home. I stopped 5 times on my way home, 3 gas stations and 2 rest areas to flush my eyes out because they were just burning so bad. And I've decided next year, assuming they do a concert, which I'm sure they will, I'm literally just going to bring a bottle of that like eye wash where you like put it in a little eye
Visine.
shaped thing, and you go like, yeah, and then
Yeah.
you go like this and like rinse your eyeball out. I'm just gonna bring one in, and if they say anything, I'm gonna be like, look, I need this for my eyes because unless you guys are gonna stop people from smoking, I'm bringing this in. So, but yeah, other than that, just even that isn't really enough to ruin my time. I still had a great time. But yeah, that's pretty much all the cons. Everything else was uh, great, and a lot of it was out of their control. So the stuff that wasn't great was not out of their control. So
All right. Well, that's cool. I just want to say this though, even though I wasn't able to attend. I'm hoping that Astro, because it wasn't it in. It was definitely more in the spring, like almost June
last
last year.
last year it was 1 year, the year it was in Ann Arbor was in June because it was hot as heck in that concert. With the concert was that Blind Pig, and it was brutal heat in there. Last year it was I'm gonna say April maybe
Yeah,
because it was warm. I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. Well, I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt at this one too, but yeah, it was. I remember it being warm. I think all I brought last year was just a hoodie with me.
so I'm hoping that Astro next year like amends its dates. Like it can still be in the spring, but like
Yeah,
move it
yeah,
more
for
to
sure.
like April. Like
Yeah, that was perfect.
because
Like last year, even the concert wasn't too hot.
well,
It was fine.
the reason why I say April because I don't think we would have had that chance for like the whole snow thing.
Yeah, the
And as it's
snowstorm.
like not a knock against them. I'm pretty sure that it's cheaper to book in March than it is compared to like the warmer months. But like
Sure,
if it would
sure.
have been booked in a warmer month, I don't think the whole cancellation with Jason Lee and Kevin Smith would have happened, or the chances
Yeah,
of
I,
that would have
I,
been
I doubt it.
a lot
Yeah,
lower.
well, even the very first year, remember you had an interview set up with angry video
Video
game
game
nerd,
nerd, and
and
yeah, he had to cancel. Yeah,
yep. Again, it was because of the weather. Because we got like the day before there was a snowstorm, and his flight got canceled.
yeah, because Michigan tends to be like, oh, you want to do something cool this weekend?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's not happening,
it'll
bro.
be 60 all week, and bam, snowstorm.
Yes, yes.
So,
Especially when Joe
yep,
has to do an interview, you know.
yeah, yep, absolutely.
So, overall, how was your time at Astronomicon as we're wrapping this up?
Yep, it was awesome. I actually just got a few final thoughts here. Just want to say, Twisted and M&E schooled it once again. I'll definitely be going back. And it's funny because this isn't like normally my type of thing. Like I grew up a comic fan, but not so much anymore. Obviously, I like the horror movies and wrestlers and stuff, but this isn't normally an event that I would like really go out of my way to go to. But it's just so much fun. They just do such a good job. And of course, I like going with you, and I like seeing all my Ryan, who I hung out with most of the time this year. We really only get to see each other at Juggalo-related events, so of course I like all that. But it's just such a great time. It's just so much fun, so much positive energy in the air, and yeah, I'm going to keep attending them as long as they do them. So. Yeah, just wanted to give a quick shout out to my buddy Ryan. He goes by Fear the Effin' Beard online, and his girlfriend Sarah. My buddy Gage and his mom Chrissy, who's also a good friend of mine, and my buddy Andy Sherman. And then another guy named Joe that I just met in the crowd at the Twisted show. It turns out he lives right here in my city, and we're gonna start going to shows together. So shout out to all of them.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for attending Astronomicon in my place and being
Absolutely.
able to
And
get some
thank you for
information.
still. Yep, and thank you for still getting me the press pass. That was awesome, man. I got to get obviously get into the convention free of charge and the concert. So I really
Oh,
appreciate that.
absolutely, man. Like as long as they keep bringing me back, I will happily attend, and like I'll always bring you as my assistant because, as
I
I've
appreciate it.
mentioned ad nauseum, that you know this world a lot more than I do, and you've always been super cool. So I truly appreciate
Yep,
your help every time. So,
absolutely. I appreciate you bringing me along. So
all right, well, folks. This is Joe from My Geek Scene with Tim, aka Echoside Fiend, and definitely go check out his YouTube channel and subscribe. We just did a review of Astronomicon 6, so take it easy.
see you later.